Welcome everyone to the fiscal year 2012 CSBG Information Systems Survey Database webinar. Please note that we've posted the link to download the slides for this webinar in the chat function of the webinar. I am Tabitha Beck, the Research Director here at NASCSP. The other NASCSP staff who you'll be hearing from during the webinar are Mr. Mark Schmeissing, who covers Regions 2 and 4, Mr. Eric Stamm, who covers Region 1, and Ms. Ray Tamblin, who covers Regions 3 and 5. And those region references are to the NASCSP Board Regions map, which you should all be aware of now, but just for a visual representation, you can see the information on this slide. And note that this presentation will use screenshots as opposed to a live demo of the database. But if you do have the screen space, we recommend that in addition to viewing the slides, that you can also have your state's personal database up on your computer as well and follow along. You should have received your state personalized database from our regional NASCSP CSBG regional representatives last week, and then again yesterday we sent an updated version. If you did not receive your database, please make sure to contact us. And if you did already start to enter information into the first version of the database we sent out, we'd be happy to help you copy over that information into the revised version so you don't have to retype it. So please contact your NASCSP information specialist if you have questions about that. On this slide, you can see how to enter questions into the webinar. Everyone on the webinar is in presentation mode, which means all of your lines are muted. You can submit questions during the webinar via the chat function on the right. And if everyone wants to test out the chat function, if you could please enter your name and state and send it to the Q&A group, and that way those of us who are presenters can see that everyone is on the line and able to use that functionality. You can submit questions throughout the webinar using this function, and we will try to answer the questions as we go along. If we do not get to everything, we will be compiling all the questions that we did answer and those of them that we were not able to address in a frequently asked questions document that we'll be posting on our website along with the recording of this webinar within the next week. If you are on the phone for the webinar but are having some technical problems, you can press *0 and have a private help session with the operator for assistance. If you can see the webinar but are having problems with the audio, you can call the 866 number that is on this slide if you are accidentally disconnected. And before we get into the specific details of the database itself, I want to give you an overview. First, please note that this webinar is a technical review of how to use this Microsoft Access database, as opposed to a training on understanding what to report. NASCSP does offer those types of trainings, but just so it's clear, we're going to be going through the functionality of the Microsoft Access database only during this webinar. So we're going to walk through how to fill out each section of the database, any highlights or new features and functions of each section, and also make sure you're aware of the many new reports that are embedded into this database to help you review and finalize your data before sending it to NASCSP. One of the specific new tools to take note of is the Diagnostic Report, which Mark will be covering a little bit later. It's basically it's a very similar version of what we would have sent to you after we received the database in years past to clarify some questions. We've built those types of questions into the database using this Diagnostic Report, so you can easily run that report, see what the issues are that pop up, and address them, get some feedback from your local agencies, and input that information into the database, all before you submit it. So please be sure to pay attention throughout the entire webinar. We'll be going over the reports after we go over the basic data input entry sections. But also when you're planning on filling out the database and planning your time, please be sure to leave enough time to be able to run those reports and then address any issues that come up before the March 31st deadline, which is the due date for turning in information to NASCSP. And I also want to make sure that everyone's clear that this database is designed for the state CSBG office grantees to fill out and provide information to NASCSP. So if your state uses an outside contractor or vendor to collect the information that feeds into this database, you're responsible for working with that vendor to get the data into the database into the proper format. We'll also be providing information and updates and reminders about the database via a new section of the CSBG Daily Digest, which you should have gotten an update about this webinar yesterday in the digest. And also we'll be writing some blog articles. And now I will turn it over to Eric Stam, who will start the walkthrough of the database.
Thank you, Tabitha. This is Eric Stam. I'm the regional rep for region number 1. And we're going to begin to get into the actual database itself. Once you've received or downloaded your database, the first thing you should see when you open it should be this main menu. Sometimes when you open it, you may have across the top a yellow ribbon that will ask you to enable content. Sometimes that also looks like a dialog box that pops up. If that appears, all you need to do is click yes or enable, and the database should be ready to use. A general comment about the database is that while you're using it and while you're entering data and going through it, any data you enter is automatically saved. So there's not a specific save button, but the data is automatically saved. Another general comment is that throughout the database, as you'll see as we go through, you can always return to this main menu that you see now using the main menu button, which will be at the bottom of each page. As we go through this, we definitely recommend that you try and fill out the database in the order that the main menu is laid out. It's certainly not going to cause you major problems if you need to go back and fill out something later, but we think that it's a logical flow and also is a methodical way to work through the database. There is one place where you have to start, though. You must start with state contact information, which you can see is highlighted with the yellow arrow here. When you click on the state contact information button, you should see a screen that looks like this. And this is going to ask you for your state and for a contact name for the person filling out the database, including a phone and email. This absolutely must be done first before you move on to anything else. In fact, the database won't let you go to other things until you do. And also, once you've filled this out, you won't be able to go back and change it. So just take some caution and make sure that the information here is filled out correctly when you do that. As a reminder, the database is set up so that it can only have one person entering data in at one time. Unfortunately, this is a restriction that's part of Access, part of Microsoft Access, the program. It's not something we've placed on the database, but at the moment, that's how it functions. You can only have one person at a time entering data. So once you've filled out your state contact information, you can click the main menu button, and it'll take you back to the main menu. And the next thing that you can work on would be the Training and Technical Assistance Survey. And so as you can see, as you should see on your screens, we're back on the main menu, and the Training and Technical Assistance Survey is the next button. Once you click on that button, you should be taken to the first page of the survey. We want to make sure to point out that we want to make sure everybody's very careful in reading the questions before you're answering questions with these drop-down boxes. The first 8 questions are related to eligible entities and the CSBG agencies. So they ask about training needs and technical assistance, all at the eligible entity level. And you'll see with the yellow arrow, the first page specifies that these questions go with eligible entities. As you can see, you can also see in the red circles, you can always go back to the main menu using the button at the bottom. When you finish the first page, you can continue on to the second page using the Continue to Questions 2 through 8 button. And when you do that, it will take you to this screen. Again, this is still questions 2 through 8, so still dealing with CSBG eligible entities and their training and technical assistance needs. The navigation buttons at the bottom of the screen are similar. You can either go back to question 1, or you can go forward and continue to question 9. As we continue on, you'll see at the top of your screen that the yellow arrow points again to the instructions, but this time it specifies that the following questions address the training and technical assistance needs of your state CSBG office and staff. So this is different than the previous 2 screens, but it's important to note that it's asking some of the same questions, but now it's asking those questions about the state CSBG office and state staff. Again, you can see that you can navigate forwards and backwards using the buttons at the bottom, and like always, you can go back to the main menu using that main menu button. Once you are working through this survey, and here you can see on the next screen is questions 10 through 15, again asking about the state CSBG office. And once you've completed the Training and Technical Assistance Survey, you'll notice here that there's a button that says Print TNTA Survey. So we've set up the survey so that you can print out a copy. You can either print out a hard copy, or you can print out, if you're able to, print it to PDF. When you click on this Print TNTA Survey button, it will take you not directly to the print option, but it will take you to this screen, which is Print Sections A through G Reports menu. And we'll revisit this, but I wanted to point out that this is the screen where you have the option to print your survey. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a yellow arrow highlighting the buttons to preview or to print your TNTA survey. So, and this menu is available, you can navigate to it through the main menu as well. And from this menu, you can also navigate back to the main menu using the buttons in the bottom left. And you can also navigate back to the View Print Reports menu, which we'll see a bit later on in the presentation. So once you've finished your TNTA survey, then the next section would be Section A, and you can begin entering in data from the fiscal year 2012. Section A, you can get to it from the main menu by first clicking on Data Entry, Sections A through D. And the following screen will be titled Data Entry, Sections A through D, and at the top of that screen you should see a button that says Enter Section A. On your screen, you should see these buttons highlighted with yellow arrows. And once you click on Enter Section A, you should be taken to the screen, which is the primary data entry page for Section A. Now, Sections A through C are sections that are filled out by state staff, and they pertain to a lot of state-level information. Section A asks about fiscal information, and so on this screen you should see that some of the boxes are white and some of the boxes are grayed out. The gray boxes are boxes that calculate automatically, and that's something that holds true throughout the database. On this screen, you should see white boxes for expenditure amounts for your eligible entities, your administrative costs, your discretionary projects, as well as some boxes that relate to carryover funding and how much funding will be carried forward to the following year. So again, this is an example of a data entry page. And you'll also notice on the right hand of this screen that there's a big comment box. Throughout the database, both on the data entry pages and on the comparison pages, which I'll show in a minute, you should see comment boxes. And we want to encourage everyone to use these comment boxes to provide any explanations or justifications or notes about the data that you are entering. However, I also want to point out an issue that we've been having with the database that relates to the comment boxes. The comment boxes will not function properly the first time that you enter data on a single page. So for example, with Section A, if I were working on this and I went through and entered information for question number 2, items A, B, and C, and then I went to type in a comment, I would be able to type the comment, but when I tried to move off the page, I would get an error message. And so the simplest solution for this is to enter in the information that you want to enter, so any data, and then just click off that page and return to it, and that should allow you to use the comment box without any problems. One thing to note is that if you are filling out data and you enter a comment without leaving the page and returning, you'll get an error message and you won't be able to save the data that you just entered on that page. It will not affect information that you've entered previously on other pages or elsewhere in the database. It will only affect what you're looking at right then. One of the in further sections of the database, especially in the NPIs, there may be situations where you're entering information for various agencies, and then you come to an agency that did not have any data on that NPI for that year. And so normally you would just skip over that agency and move on. But what we're suggesting, in order to allow you to use the comment box for that agency, you know, for example, you may want to explain why they're not reporting anything for that particular NPI. It's okay to just enter a 0 in one of the items, and that will allow you to use the comment boxes. So like I said, I just want to repeat the straightforward solution to this is when you're entering data, go ahead and enter all the data that you're going to on that page and move off that page and then return to it, and that will allow you to use the comments. And when I say that you can move off the page, there's two options. You can either use the button that you see in this screen down in the bottom right-hand corner that says Continue to Section B List, or you'll see next to that there's a button that says Compare to 2011 Data. So one option is to click the Compare to 2011 Data button, which will take you to a comparison screen. And on that screen you will see some comparisons between the 2 years, and you'll also see a comment box. But by clicking that button and then returning to this page, it'll allow the comment box to function properly. And in a few slides, we'll take a look at a comparison screen, and so I'll explain that a little bit more as well. I also want to point out on this page, you'll see a yellow arrow on the right-hand side that points to a link that says See Notes and Instructions for Comments. We've added these in throughout the database, and when you click on this link, a window should pop up that looks like this. It's entitled Notes and Instructions on Comment. And this is just a pop-up that provides a little further explanation on what we're looking for in the comment box. It also, if you'll see down on the lower half of this pop-up window, it has some section-specific notes. So these may be instructions or notes about how to properly fill out this section of the database. So we encourage everyone to click on that link and see what instructions might be there for that section. And I also want to point out that in the middle of this, they're highlighted by a yellow arrow, there's a link that says Complete Instructions for CSBG IS. And this link will take you to the NASCSP website, to our main page for CSBG IS instructions. So that's another option if you're looking for some more information about how to fill out the database or how to answer a particular item. This pop-up window will come up when you click on the link, and it won't go away until you click either Close Notes and Instructions, the button at the bottom of the pop-up window, or you can click the gray X at the top right-hand corner. So that's a new feature that we've added, is these pop-up boxes with some notes and instructions in each section. And so that's one of those new features. Now I want to show a little bit about these comparison screens I was talking about. Back on your Section A screen, you'll see a button circled in red in the bottom right-hand corner that says Compare to 2011 Data. When you click on this button, it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. The most important and big difference you're going to notice right away is that this screen has a green background, and the previous screen has a blue background. And this is something that holds true throughout the database. The comparison screens are in green, and the data entry screens are in blue. So you'll see on this screen that for Section A, which starts where the yellow arrow is, it provides you with some information that compares 2011 to 2012. So we break down percentage-wise how CSBG funds were split up between eligible entities, administrative costs, discretionary projects. There's also a comparison of carry-over funding and carry-forward funding and some things like that. I also want to point out that this particular comparison screen is actually a report that covers sections A, B, and C. On your screen at the moment, in the screenshot, you can see that it has Section A information as well as some Section B information. And when you're in your actual database, you should be able to scroll down on this page and you'll see more Section B as well as some Section C information that's compared year to year. From this screen, you have a couple options about where to go next. As you can see, like always, there's the main menu button. There's also a button circled in red that says Edit Section A Data. If you click this Edit Section A Data button, it will take you right back to where you were on Section A, where you were entering data, and you can go back and work on that. You can also click on the far left side a button entitled Comparison Menu. And this button will take you to a menu that has all of the comparison screens for the entire database. And using this button is one way to get there. Another way to get there is from the main menu, where you'll see with a yellow arrow we've marked the button that reads FY11, FY12 Comparisons. And clicking on this button from the main menu will take you to the comparison menu, which looks like this. We've put a green background so that, again, you can distinguish between data entry and comparison. And this screen has all of the reports that compare fiscal year 11 to fiscal year 12. And I also want to point out that, and there may be some other screenshots of this as we go further, but when you're looking at a comparison screen like this one that's up now, though you can't see it in the screenshot right here, all of the comparison screens have comment boxes on them as well. And those comment boxes are the same comment boxes that are on the corresponding section in the data entry. So, for example, if I type in some comments in the Section A comment box, and then I go to the Section A comparison screen, those same comments that I've already typed in will show up in the Section A comparison screen. So moving forward a little bit, once I've completed Section A, Section B comes next, and you can get there in the same way. You can get there from the main menu by clicking on Data Entry Sections A through D, and the next button to click on would be Section B Eligible Entity List, and you can see both of those highlighted with yellow arrows on your screen. For some of you who may have filled out the database before, this Section B Eligible Entity List is a new feature we've added. When you click on that button, it'll take you to a screen that looks like this. The Eligible Entities List in the past has been an Excel spreadsheet that we sent along with the database to collect this information. But this year we've incorporated it directly into the database. And parts of this screen and parts of this section are going to be pre-filled for you. So for example, the agency name, the acronym, the address, zip code, and agency type are all going to be pre-filled and preloaded with your state's agencies. There are some pieces of this sheet that you need to look at and actually update this year. Most importantly, you need to take a look at the bottom of the screen where it says FY 2012 Regular CSBG Allocation, and below that FY 12 CSBG Discretionary Allocation. These two boxes, when you receive your database, will be blank for all the agencies. And in addition, another area that you will see that is blank is the DUNS number. In our example up on the screen right now, there's a sample number there. But when you receive your database, that number will also be blank. All of the information on this sheet is editable. So if you have an agency that's updated their name or updated an address, you can make those updates here. Another very important part of this sheet is kind of in the middle. You'll see marked with a red circle a question that says, check this box if this agency is also a CAA. This box for all the agencies, for the most part, should come already checked. Yes, but we need everyone to look through the list carefully and make sure that it's correctly marked for each of your agencies. And you'll see above that question there's a question agency type, and that's a drop-down menu where you can select from the different options such as private community action agency, local government, tribe, limited purpose agency, etc. And we know that some of those other options, such as local government or tribe or a limited purpose agency, that may be the appropriate agency type, but they, in some cases, are also considered CAAs. And so we've put this checkbox in there to indicate that. There's also a checkbox below that you can use to indicate if an agency has been an agency in the past and has reported data in the past, but is not going to be reporting data this year for whatever reason. And finally, you can see that at the top of this screen, there's a drop-down menu where it says agency name and sample agency. And at the bottom of this screen, there's also two buttons that say previous agency or next agency. And you can use either of those tools to navigate through this list and to cycle through your agency list. And we definitely encourage you to fill this part of the database out first, or to fill this part of Section B out first, and to go through it carefully, because some of this information is going to be pulled into a following section of Section B. And in the same way, if you see up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a link, See Notes and Instructions. This will take you to what we've seen before, a similar pop-up with specific instructions and notes about how to fill out this section properly. So once you're done with this section, the next section is the main portion of Section B. And you'll see up at the top left-hand corner it indicates which state is reporting. And you'll notice in the main part of the screen now that these boxes are all grayed, where it asks about the number of eligible entities. This is a section that in the past the state office filled out by hand, but this section now will be filled in automatically based on what you've done earlier in the Section B eligible entities list. And again, you can see highlighted on the right side the link to take you for notes and instructions for this section. Further down the page in Section B, I want to highlight this box in the middle of your screen that's highlighted red. Section B asks for information about discretionary funds, and discretionary funds are also reported in Section A. And so this is a checkbox or a kind of verification we've built into the database so that if different amounts of discretionary funding are reported in the different sections, this box will turn red to alert you that the numbers are mismatched. So if you see this box turning red, it's an indication to go back and maybe double check your data entry and make sure you've entered it correctly and that the two figures match up. From this screen, you can also see that the compare to 2011 data is highlighted. And just as another example, if you were to click that button, you'd be taken to a screen that looks like this. This is the Section B portion of the comparison report and comparison screen. So from here, again, you can click Edit Section B Data. It will take you right back to where you were, or you can click Main Menu, and that will take you back to the main menu. Let's say that you choose to hit the Edit Section B Data. It'll take you back to your Section B data entry page. And once you've finished entering data there, you can click the Continue to Section C button, which is on the lower right-hand side of the screen. To get to Section C, you can also, like we've talked about, go back to the main menu, click on Data Entry Sections A through D, and then click the button for Enter Section C. Section C, the top of the page, looks like this. Again, you can see what state is reporting. You can also see highlighted the link again for notes or instructions for this section. And Section C contains more information filled out by state staff, and this section primarily relates to information about the state office itself. I want to point out we've added one new question this year at the bottom of this section, question number 8. Question number 8 has two parts, and part A asks about how many national peer-to-peer Roma-trained staff work in the state office itself. So this is not necessarily how many people across your entire state at the agency level have been trained by the National Peer-to-Peer Roma program, but specifically how many people work in your state office that have been certified as National Peer-to-Peer Roma trainers. And question 8B asks the same thing, but about Certified Community Action Professionals, or CCAPs. And again, that's how many CCAPs are working directly in your state office. Once you've finished Section C, you can either click on the Continue to Section D button to continue through the database, or you can go back to the main menu and click on Data Entry Sections for A through D, and then click on Enter Section D. Section D is split up into two parts, and so you'll see that there's two buttons for it so that you can go directly to either one. But normally you'd begin with Enter Section D, questions 1 through 3. And some of you may remember that during the ARA period, Section D actually had 5 questions. Now that the ARA period is over, we've taken out question 5 and taken out the questions that pertain to ARA and the ARA narratives. So that's why you only see questions 1 through 4. Section D is works in the same way. There's a link again that will take you to notes and instructions for this section. But I want to highlight something particular here. On this section, we've added in links that will take you to the NASCSP Storytelling Manual and the Storytelling Brochure. We really encourage everyone, before filling out Section D, to review the storytelling materials. It'll give you some good ideas and good guidelines for selecting stories and also for editing them or filling out the questions and what we're looking for. Overall, what we really are interested in and what really makes a story powerful is making sure to include the so what about community action and CSBG, and make sure that if you are including information about one person's success story, that it also ties back to that so what factor for CSBG and community action. From this, like has worked previously, from this slide, you can either click Continue to Section E, or you can go back to the main menu, and now you're going to look for the button that says Data Entry Sections E through G, which will take you to a menu for those sections. And the first section on that menu is Section E, and so you click on the Enter Section E button. And for Section E, I'm going to turn it over to Ray Tamblin to walk us through that. And she'll take us through Section E through the NPIs.
Hi everyone, this is Ray Tamblin, and I'm the Regional Representative for Regions 3 and 5. As Eric mentioned, Sections A through C were most of the state-level data, and Section E is where you're going to start entering the agency-level data. So once you've clicked on the Enter Section E button, you'll see a page that looks like this. And right up at the top, you're going to see a button with agency name on it. And this is where you're going to start seeing that list of information that you entered back in the Section B eligible entity list. So all of that information should be pre-filled here, so when you click the drop-down menu, all of those agency names should appear. You can use this drop-down menu to move to the next agency to fill out the Section E data for each agency in specific, or if you would like to fill out all of the information for one agency at a time, you can simply go down to the bottom where you see a red circle and click Continue to Section F, which will take you to that listed agency's Section F form. Again, there's a Notes and Instructions button at the very bottom. So if you're looking at the Section E form, you'll see that you can scroll down, and it'll be at the bottom right above the comment box. Specifically for Section E, we want to make sure that you see the admin changes that the HHS performance target for the eligible entities this year is 17% for fiscal year 2012. And there is a link pointed out by the yellow arrow for the HHS budget justification. Again, you can see circled in red the comparing to 2011 data, which when you click on it will again take you to a green screen with the 2011 and 2012 data. Here, you'll see the comments button, which will include any comments that you have put in the data entry format, which will be, again, visible here on the green screen. You also, again, as mentioned, have the ability to return directly to the data entry through the circled Edit 2012 data, or you can continue directly to Section F. And again, this will be for specific agencies. So if you've gone through and filled out for one agency at a time and you've ended up either at this comparison screen to see what your data looks like in comparison for that agency, you can continue directly to Section F. But if you've gone through each agency using the drop-down, you can again continue to Section F or go back directly to the main menu, and which will take you to, again, the sections E through G, and you would click Section F Federal, which is the first step of the Section F data. We've made some specific changes for the Section F. We have reorganized the numbering system to make it more clear, and we have also reorganized it by funding source. And if you'll note the yellow arrow, you can see that we've added 4H, which is the Assets for Independence, and a specific box for that number. We have also added a section on the Workforce Investment Act. Excuse me. Again, if you scroll down, there will be a notes and comment box at the bottom. Right under number 15, which will be the Section F total. Again, the section-specific notes will point out some possible areas to address and give you specific areas to focus in on when you're filling out the agency-level data. Again, you can click the comparison button just to look at what your data looks like in comparison to the 2011. And we've continued that renumbering system in the comparison as well. If you don't want to look at your comparison data at the moment, you can simply click Continue to Section F State. In terms of the Section F State, you can also go back to the main menu, go back into the data entry section E through G, and specifically click on Section F State or Section F Private and Local. Once you've completed filling out the Sections F, at the very end, which will be the Section F State and Local and Private, you can see the button that says Continue to Section G. Again, you can either click this button circled in red, or you can go back into the data entry menu and click on Section G, which is marked by the large yellow arrow. In Section G, you can see the agency-level data. And for here, it's important to note that the discrepancies, as shown in the red boxes, would be discrepancies between the total unduplicated number of persons. For example, there's the red box with the yellow arrow pointing at it is a discrepancy between number 7, gender total, and number 3. And again, on number 13 total, it will be a discrepancy between number 5. These red boxes will show up with a red note at the top, also highlighted in a yellow arrow, that will basically, that again says when you have completed Section G, discrepancies are marked in red, and these will show up in our new cleaning memo, which will be discussed in detail later. Just a few things that are new in terms of Section G with the addition of any errors or discrepancies that will be covered in the cleaning arrow. We have added the source of income total for the total income reported, and we have also added a housing other to capture other types of housing. And again, we do have a notes and instructions with section-specific notes and the comparison to the 2011 data as well. For example, if you click on the 2011 data, you can see marked with the yellow arrow again that in 2012 in this sample there is an error and a discrepancy in the number of persons, which was not an error or discrepancy in 2011. So having noted that, you can choose to go back into the Edit 2012 data and make that change or provide a comment in the comments section on the reason for this discrepancy. So continuing to the NPIs, you have the option either on the data entry screen or the comparison screen to continue to the NPIs. You can also choose to go back to the main menu and click on Data Entry NPIs as noted by the yellow arrow. This is the screen that will show up once you've entered into the data entry for NPIs, which lists all of the NPIs, and you can choose to click on 1.1, or any other of the sections. For the purposes of the webinar, we are using 1.1 as our sample. For the majority of the NPIs, we have renumbered using Roman numerals in the columns, as you can see. And we want to note here that NPIs 1.1, 1.3, and 6.3 have targeting calculations. As noted by the two yellow arrows and the red boxes here, the targeting percentage should be between 80% and 120%. If the percentage achieving outcomes in the reporting period is either above 120% or below 80%, the box will turn red, and this arrow will show up in your comparing to 2011 data and the cleaning memo, which will be discussed again later. Again, this is where you're probably going to see problems with the comment box, as we discussed earlier. If you have no data at an agency level and you want to make a comment as to why that's so, again, we recommend that you enter a 0 somewhere, click to the next NPI, and come back to enter the comment. Otherwise, there will be some problems with the data entry. If you're getting an error message, again, fill out a section with 0. You don't have to fill out all of the sections with 0, but at least 1 0 to save it as, having some form of data in it. Click forward and then come back to enter the comments, because until you've clicked off of the page, so for example, continue to NPI 1.2, that 0 that you saved won't be registered as data, so you won't be able to enter the comment. Before I move on and pass the presentation over to Mark, I just want to point out again that there is the notes and instructions at the bottom with specific instructions for the NPIs, specifically on targeting. And also there is again the link to the complete instructions for the CSBG IS with examples and updated information on the NPIs specifically. Again, if you click on the Compare to 2011 data, you can see that the 2011 and 2012. And there's a section circled in red on the targeting analysis, which will show, for example, that 1.1a needs improvement, and 1.1c, for example, your targeting has improved. So you can use this, again, the drop-down menu, to look at agency targeting and whether they're improving or needing to improve their targeting, comparing the years, and you can find specific agencies as well. And if there's a need, again, you can enter comments on the green screen data comparison or the blue screen data entry. As a final note, there are two specific NPI changes. We have added a Roman numeral column 2, number of partnerships, to the NPI 4.1 to better capture the one-to-many relationship between the CAA and the organizations in the community. And lastly, we have added an age unknown to the 6.1b, individuals with disabilities, to better capture all of the participants. This change is also reflected in a total that automatically calculates, whereas those of you who have filled out the database last year may remember that you had to calculate that. So those are just the two specific NPI notes that we wanted to draw your attention to. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mark Schmeissing, who's going to talk specifically about the data comparison and the data cleaning.
Thank you, Ray. Yes, I'm Mark Schmeissing, and I am the person here at NASCSP responsible for Regions 2 and 4. So if you're in those regions, feel free to contact me with any data questions that you have, or if you have any issues with the database, and I can try to work through those with you. Going to start off by going through some of the additional tools. So Eric and Ray went through a lot of the data entry pieces to the database, the simple task of getting data into the database that can be then submitted to us. I'm going to be going through the additional tools that we have. We have some comparison tools. We have a number of printable reports that you can use to take a look at your data, check it, work with your agencies to correct issues and review the information that you have before you submit it onto NASCSP. And then I'll also walk through the submission process as well. So from the main menu, you can also get to the 2011 and 2012 comparison screens as opposed to going through each individual section. And then, as Eric and Ray have stated, you can note that any comments you added in the blue data entry screens will also show up on those green comparison screens. You can also add more comments when you're in the green comparison screens as well if you see anything that needs an explanation. Here's what the menu looks like when you go into the data comparison screen. You don't print comparisons from this menu. This is simply for review of the data and to make comments. We're going to look at the printing in a minute, but this is just for reviewing your data, for making comments, and checking the comparisons. The printing we'll get to in a little bit. But we do have the ability to print comparisons. That was a hot topic last year once we introduced that comparison, and the ability to print it has been built into the database this year. So we'll show you how to do that as well. These screens will just jump straight to the section that you need to see for the comparisons. Going back to the main menu, you can see we have a newer section here called Data Diagnostic Tools. The data cleaning process has been, we're working on incorporating that into the database per agency data to catch some common reporting errors. We don't foresee this as replacing the whole data cleaning process, but we hope that this will help shrink that and make that go faster this year as we review the data that's submitted to us. This is kind of in the testing phase. This is a new project for us, so please be patient with it. But we want you all to use this. We think that it can really benefit you as you evaluate your data and ensure that you have a shorter follow-up cleaning memo after your data is submitted to us. So there's a number of tools in this data diagnostics menu that I'm going to walk through. I'm actually going to start with the 5 buttons down below and then work my way back up to the diagnostic reports. So first we have Section G and NPI 6.2. There will be a comparison of those two. And I will show you what that report looks like here on the next screen. Here we have the Section G total number of individuals served that's reported, comparing it to NPI 6.2, which is your emergency assistance data. This is just a data check for you to ensure that numbers are matching up. One of the common reporting errors is that individuals are counted multiple times in the emergency assistance NPI. So as you can see in this example, 6.2A, emergency food assistance, 10,000 individuals were reported, but in Section G, only 9,000 individuals were considered served. So this would be a data check that you could do as you're filling out the database and catching these quick errors. There's a scroll bar at the bottom so you can see all of the columns, and the columns are just include the Section G total number of individuals served, which is numbers 3 and 4, and then it also goes through each of the indicators in NPI 6.2. An additional report that we have is NPI 1.2 and 6.4 comparison. These are mutually exclusive groups of people. NPI 1.2 is referring to individuals who are employable, and 6.4 is individuals who are not employable. So you can use this report to just take a look at the different numbers that are being reported per agency, and based on the people served in the agency, who can work and who can't work, how many were served. You can use the navigation button at the bottom of this screen to cycle through the different agencies. So this is another data check that I'd encourage you to utilize that's built into the database. There's not going to be right and wrong answers for these reports. This is just a good way for you to take a look at your agencies and ensure that the data represents the services that you've been providing and the clients that you've been serving. The additional 3 reports on these data diagnostics menu are Section F Other summaries. This is just a collection of all of the agencies who reported other for other HHS, other federal, and other state programs. You can see all of those programs that have been reported in one location. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that if you have a number of agencies who are reporting other federal or state funding in Section F. Moving towards the top of this menu, you can see a couple of new reports that we have up there called Diagnostic Reports. We have Diagnostic Reports split up into sections A through C, E through G, and then the NPIs. So there's also a link on your menu and an additional link in the Resources menu to access a Word document which outlines the issues that are going to be pulled up in this diagnostic report. We'd encourage everyone, before they submit their database to NASCSP, to run these diagnostic reports, all 3 of them, and take a look at it and address the issues that are noted in this report. If you do not address these issues, we're going to have to address them in the cleaning process. So we'd encourage you to take a look at this before you submit it to NASCSP. But this is probably something that should wait until the database has been completely filled out prior to running these diagnostic reports. These allow you to sort it by agency, so you can take a look at one agency's data issues in E through G and the NPIs and send those to the agency and have them address it and send it back to you to provide explanations and comments. Once again, I want to say that this running clean diagnostic reports does not mean that you won't get a cleaning memo. Hopefully this is just a beneficial supplement to what you're already doing to evaluate the data that you're getting from your agencies and your data cleaning process within your state. On the next slide, you can see what a sample diagnostic report for the sections look like. Sections E through G. Here's a report that has been run, and there was 1 issue found for Section E and 1 issue found for Section G. Please fill out Section E by service category. Section E was not filled out for this agency. And Section G, it notes an issue with the total number and gender. Number 7, the individuals who were reported there. So there's a brief explanation of what the issues are as they come up. And once again, I would point you to the Word document that explains everything that is being checked in this database diagnostic tool, so you can do some of the same checks on your own as you look at the agency data. On the next slide, I have an example of the NPI's diagnostic report as well, and you can see excuse me, that a clean report was run for a number of the NPIs, but there was 1 issue in NPI 6.1, and the targeting needs to be evaluated as well. As you can see in this NPI diagnostic report, NPI 1.3 has targeting data outside of the range. This may be acceptable data. We'll just want to see comments in the database or in an additional document explaining why the targeting data is outside of the range. But simply because this is on the tool doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that we want an explanation provided in addition to the data that you're giving to us. So there may be times when you run it and you get a clean diagnostic report, and you'll get a screen that looks like the one in front of you where it says we've run a preliminary diagnostic on the sections of E through G and didn't highlight any inconsistencies. That's great. We like to see that, and that makes the data cleaning process easier for us. But we still want to stress that this is just a basic test of some inconsistencies, and we'd encourage you to review the data closely before submitting it on to us. On this slide, it's a little bit small, but you can see the Diagnostic Report information sheet. This is just the Word document that is linked in your database that outlines what is being checked for each section. So you can see the different items that are being evaluated in Section A. So if you don't see any comments for Section A on your Diagnostic Report, that means that it has run the check on these different areas, and it's okay. It's passed. We're still going to go through it when you submit it to us and look at Section A again, just to double check and to make sure everything looks appropriate. But this has already done some of the legwork for us before it's been submitted to us, so we'd appreciate you addressing these issues. And once again, you can use the comment boxes that are built into the database to address some of these issues. And that may not mean that you send in a clean Section A report, but we'll just know to look at the comment boxes or any additional documents that you have to address these questions that we have. This is not a comprehensive data cleaning, but we hope this is helpful for you. This is a new project that we've put together for this year, and we will want your feedback on how well it works and how well it compares to some of the data checks that you're doing as well. We know that you all are interested just as much as we are in a smaller data cleaning memo, and we hope that this process and taking care of some of these issues on the front end can help make that happen. So that's our new data diagnostic tool. Now I want to walk through the different printable reports that we have built into the database. View print reports for sections A to G. This also includes the Training and Technical Assistance Survey. You can access this from the main menu, go to View Print Reports, and then from the View Print Reports menu, View Reports for sections A to G. You can see we've added just a couple of items to this. Otherwise, it looks exactly the same as it did in previous years. We've added the Section B eligible entities list. This was taken from the separate Excel document and built into the database. This is where you could print that list if you needed it. We also have circled on here the Training and Technical Assistance Survey. Sometimes it gets lost as far as how to print that survey. So you can find that here. And then we've added an additional breakdown report for Section G. Here you can see an example of printing Section A, looking very similar to how it did last year, just with the updated forms for 2012. And I also wanted to show you a screenshot of the new Section G breakdown report. This was requested by a number of states. So it has the agencies' names listed on the left side and then goes through each question in Section G in columns. So you can compare all of the agencies' Section G data at once. And there may be multiple pages for this because Section G is so large, so you can just use the navigation button at the bottom of the report. Printing the NPIs, also very similar to last year. You get to this through the View NPI Reports menu button. And the screen looks like this, where you have the option of 3 separate reports. You have agency-level reports, state-level reports, and then your additional indicator reports. And those are broken down by each NPI, or you can print them all at once using the large buttons at the bottom of each column. can also print by specific agency using the drop-down menu that the arrow is pointing to. Viewing the NPI comparison report. We've only been on the webinar a little over an hour, and I've gotten a number of questions about this already as to whether the database allows you to print the NPI comparison reports that were not printable or able to be printed last year. The answer is yes, and this is how you access those reports. You go to the View Print Reports button and then View NPI Comparison Reports. There's two options here. There is the Comparison Summary Report and the Agency Comparison Report. If those titles are confusing, I'll try to make it a little bit simpler for you. The left side, Comparison Summary Reports, are the same as last year. This is where you have the opportunity to look at all of your agencies at once per NPI and compare them from last year to this year, from 2011 to 2012. Whereas the new report, this most requested feature, are the Agency Comparison Reports. So these look like the forms where you are able to look at each agency individually and could compare their data from 2011 to 2012. You can also use the drop-down menu to look at a specific agency comparison report, and then that should give you all of the NPI comparison reports for that agency. You can print those and send those to the agency so that they can take a look at their own data before it gets finalized and sent on to NASCSP. So here's a screenshot of what the summary comparison report looks like last year, and it looks the same this year, where you have the agency names and addressing each indicator separately, but looking at all of the agencies at once on one page. Whereas here's a screenshot of the new reports that are printable that show just one agency and all of the indicators compared from 2011 to 2012 on one page that can also be printed. We also have printable comments. All of the comments that you submit to us, we wanted to give you the opportunity to print those for your own records. And so you can do that through the printable comments menu. You can either do those individually by indicator or through sections, or you can print them all at once, or you can print the comments for a specific agency using the drop-down menu that's on this page. A couple other additional reports that I wanted to alert you to that are in the database is the state fact sheet. This can also be accessed through the View Print Reports menu. This is the state fact sheet that looks similar to our national CSBG highlights document that we put together each year, but this one is focused just on your state and includes your state's data. You can print this. It's colorful. It looks very similar to the screenshot in front of you. You can use it for marketing. There's a date noted at the bottom of the page so you know when this was printed and how up-to-date your numbers are based on the different revisions and the different versions that you may have of your database. You can tell which version this pertains to based off the date that's posted at the bottom of this highlights document. We've updated it based off of our latest national fact sheet, national highlights document. So we'd encourage you to use this resource that's built into the database. I also wanted to let you know that we have agency data highlights, a separate report that's also built into the database. The agency data highlights are data that would be included on a state version of our national data wheel. All of you who are state members should have received a data wheel with our national data figures that we put together from the annual report. If you were to do just a state-level data wheel, these are the figures that would be in it per each agency. So we wanted to build this into the database so you can get an idea of how your state's numbers would look for the different categories that we've chosen for our data wheel. Again, there's a date on the bottom so you can note which version that you're working with. And these reports can be printed just by either right-clicking and going to print, or you may have the print option at the top in a toolbar, and you can print the reports that way as well. So those are all of the printable reports. There's a large number of them, and I hope that you take some time to just look through them, explore them, find out which ones may be especially useful for you as you review your data and clean your data before you submit it on to NASCSP. I'd encourage you, as much as you can, to use the agency-level reports and communicate or send those back to agencies so that they can see what is being submitted on their behalf and what they're turning in to you as well. The last item I wanted to go through on this main menu is the Resources and Instructions page. The Resources page has a few new documents. You'll notice that at the top we have the instructions, sections A to G, and the NPI Instructions Manual. The NPI Instructions were recently updated, so I'd encourage you to take a look at those on our website. And all of the items on this Resources Instruction page are linked, so you can just click on the text and it should jump you to the web page. It may pop up a box that asks if it's okay to leave the database and go to a web page. If you just push OK, it should jump you straight to the web page for these different items. Right below the instructions, the Diagnostic Report information sheet. This is that Word document that I described earlier that outlines the different data checks in the diagnostic tool. This is just another way to access that information sheet. I hope that you take a look at that. Below that, you'll see some additional resources, such as the State Fact Sheet template /notes. For the State Fact Sheet, there's a number of figures and numbers and data points and funding amounts on there. And this document explains where we're getting those numbers from, where they're being pulled from in your database, how we calculated the different elements on the State Fact Sheet. So if you have questions about that, I'd encourage you to take a look at this template. We also have the Targeting Manual and our Storytelling Guidebook and our Lexicon and our Guide to Reporting on Race and Ethnicity. I'd encourage you to take a look at these to ensure that you're reporting according to our guidance. And then lastly there, you'll see the Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance, CFDA. We got a number of questions in the past couple of years about CFDA number on Section F and where to locate that number. This will take you to the website for Federal Domestic Assistance and help you to locate those numbers for programs that you're not sure what the CFDA number is. We also have our definition for homelessness on this page as well. So that's all that we have for the database and filling it out and reviewing your data. Once you are finished filling it out and you are ready to send your data onto NASCSP, you can zip your database file, but you don't have to zip your database file. Once again, we're using the web submission page on our website to send the databases onto NASCSP. It's fairly straightforward, and it worked pretty well last year, so we're going to move forward with it again this year. It asks for your name, your email, your state, and then it gives you the option to upload the Access database, you can either upload it as a zip file or just as it currently is as a database file, and there's some file types listed below there. It also provides you the opportunity to add additional attachments. Maybe you have a separate cleaning memo or some separate documents that you want to include in your submission, and you can do that there. These are optional. With everything that we've done, we've been trying to move towards building all of the additional documents into the database. So there's no separate Section B Excel, there's no separate training and technical assistance survey. All of these are built into the database to try to limit how many documents and how many files we're receiving. But we did want to leave that option open to you if you have additional attachments to include there. If you have any questions about this submission process, or if it's not working for you, or if you can't access the web page, just call your regional person here at NASCSP or let us know, and we can work with you. We will take submissions by email. That will work fine if you can't get this form to work. However, we do want to make sure that you know that if you're submitting a database to us by email, that you also send a follow-up email to ensure that we received it. I know that there's a number of government firewalls and restrictions in sending large files, so that's why we've moved towards this web submission process as opposed to doing emails back and forth. So just let us know that you've submitted it through emails, and we will be sure to look out for it when it comes in. So I have a couple of reminders as we come to the end of this webinar here. And I wanted to start by just saying that you should use the corrected version of the database that was sent out yesterday, January 14th. The original database that was sent out last week had an issue with NPI 4.1. There was an issue where you weren't able to enter in data at all on 4.1. So we've corrected that. We've removed those files off the website or off Dropbox. So if you try to use those old links, you won't be able to access the database. You need to use the latest links that were sent yesterday. If you received the database last week and you already started filling in the data, let us know. We can work with you to fix your database so you don't have to re-enter in that data again. We can definitely work with you, just let us know. But from here on out, we ask that you please use the corrected version of the database, and the date on that should be January 14th. I also wanted to remind you that the comments issue that was mentioned a couple of times, and there's that workaround for that comments issue. If as you're filling out comments or as you're filling out data and then trying to attach a comment to an agency, if you're getting error messages, the easy way to work around that is to fill out data and then move on to the next section and then come back and do comments later. The best approach to that may be to just fill out all of the data first and then go back through and fill out comments for each agency and for the different sections. And then once again, if you're continuing to see errors, you may have to enter in a 0. We'll be posting these tips in the FAQ document that we'll be posting next week, along with some of the questions we've been receiving while we've been doing the webinar. If we haven't been able to address your question that you've been submitting through the chat function during this webinar, we'll be sure to reach out to you over the next week and include it in the FAQ document that we'll be putting out as well. We are recording this webinar, and that will also hopefully be posted within the next week. We'll be sending out an alert to let you know that that's available as well, but that should be posted on our website, and there's a location under the survey information already on our website. And I also want to reiterate that submissions are due to NASCSP by March 31st. That is a hard deadline, and we are asked to send along to OCS, the Federal Office of Community Services, any states that do not submit the database by March 31st, So please open up the database now, take a look at it, explore the different reports and the different tools that are built into the database, enter in some data from agencies if you have it available. I don't want this March date to creep up on you. I'd encourage you to get a head start on this as quickly as you can. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Tabitha, Ray, Eric, or myself, and we will be willing to help you and work with you on your database and on your submission. I want to thank you all for joining this webinar. I'll be sending out a survey shortly where you'll have the opportunity to also type in questions that may have not been answered on the survey that you wanted answered. That way we'll have a record of it and we can include those in the FAQ document that will also be posted on our website. And I once again want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and I look forward to working with you over the next couple of months. Thank you.